Good morning, everybody. So, I appreciate everybody coming, and there will be a section, if you guys have questions, I want to make this a little more interactive. So, well, we're kind of spread out, so either maybe we can, is there another mic, Cole? We need one? Okay, so we got another mic. So we're gonna talk about increasing efficiency and increasing value, mainly net operating income, or maximizing net operating income. And kind of, if you look at the definition of efficiency, it's really the ratio of useful work performed in a process relative to the total energy expended. So that's kind of complicated, but if we simplify that, it's really all about saving time, saving money, multitasking, and that in turn is what productivity means. So what does it mean to us? So achieving efficiency, we can do that a couple of ways. We can use technology. I talked about technology yesterday. We're going to talk a lot about it today in another talk. Specialization. I think I mentioned to you guys that yesterday, if you were here at the keynote, I used to be in the healthcare industry. And so, you know, if you've been to a doctor, they are all specialized. You'll have orthopedic surgeons, gynecologists, general surgeons, internists, dermatologists. So we'll talk about specialization as well. Communication. Communication's key because, again, there's multiple ways to communicate. And what I see a lot of times in parks is that we communicate one-to-one, which is actually not efficient. And then standards and processes, and then also optimization. So how do we optimize all these things that will make us more efficient? So Bill Gates basically talks about these two things, and it's interesting, you know, he's the software guru, right, for Microsoft. And the first rule of any technology used in a business is that technology applied to an efficient operation will magnify the efficiency. But if you are an inefficient organization and you use technology wrong, in some regards it can make you less efficient. And so, again, there's an order. When we build a house, we don't put the roof on first because we have to put the foundation on first and kind of build from there. Biggest inefficiencies in a mobile home park. One second. Sorry, guys, I'm taller than the mic. Can you bring it up to me? Just make it easier. Sorry about that. So biggest inefficiencies we see in mobile home parks, the number one thing that I see initially starting is paper. So how many of you in the room are still using paper, are using like paper leases, paper checks, maybe sticky notes on your computer? Well, we talked again about this yesterday, is that the problem with paper is that it is extremely inefficient. So if you have a paper check, paper lease, if you're reading your meters, you're using paper accounting, they're easy to lose, or they're inefficient because they're easy to lose, they're unorganized, and they're a liability. I'll tell you guys a story. We have a property in Glendale, and we have security cameras in that property. And what ended up happening was we had somebody break into the park office. So we saw them in the middle of the night, they're in the office, and what ended up happening is they went through and they were trying to steal the money orders and the checks. Now those obviously, if you send somebody a paper check, it has the routing number and the account number, but really not much you can do to it because it's already been cashed. But what scared me was that if they would have gone in and tried to break into our filing cabinet where we keep leases, there were leases at the time and there were paper applications where they actually had social security numbers, driver's licenses, and copies of all that stuff when we were doing, this was back in the day when we were doing paper applications, is that puts us at liability legally because we've taken somebody's private information and now it's out into the public. So we definitely want to find ways to mitigate that. And so if you lock it in a closet, or even if you have vendors, if you have cleaning crews that clean your clubhouses or anything like that, or clean your offices, you want to make sure that that stuff is locked down. And again, so paper to me is just a liability. The other thing that we see, and this is really for the park managers, is that we kind of call it jack of all trade managers. And the issue with park management is that you guys are dealing with a lot of stuff. And I kind of call it waiting for the problem to come to you. So you'll be in the office and somebody wants to come in and pay rent. Or you'll be in the office and somebody wants to buy a house. So you got to sign a lease, or they want an application, or you got to show them, or maybe there's a maintenance issue. So you're really juggling a lot of balls, right? And the problem with doing everything is that usually something will get dropped. And what we find in our company is we call it love and like. I like a lot of things, but I only really love a few things. So I want to do what I love to do. And also what we find is that when you find yourself doing something and you go, I really love this, it's probably one of your best gifts, right? So for instance, if you love people and you love talking to people and you're going to excel really well at showing homes and selling. But if that's your strength, you're going to really enjoy that. But then if somebody says, I need you to go out and read a bunch of meters, you're going to go, I don't like reading meters, it's hot outside, and I transpose numbers. Or if you love numbers and data, you're probably going to be in the office and go, oh no, I hope this person doesn't come in and talk to me because I really want to keep doing my accounting, I want to keep doing my numbers. So what we find in our company is love like, right? Find people that love something, they do more and more of it. So what we found is that when you're doing all this, you're wasting your time. We lack expertise in certain areas, and we all become stretched thin if we're trying to do everything. So the other one is that outdated systems. And so we talked a little bit yesterday, we'll kind of go into a little more detail, but if you have how many of you in the room have a rent drop box at your park? That residents actually put the money in a box, like in your office? One, we got one, two, okay. So another true story. We have a park in Mesa, and on the 3rd of the month, this was about 6 years ago, on the 3rd of the month, about 1 in the morning, a guy decided to steal our rent drop box. He literally ripped it off the wall of the office. And luckily, one of our residents saw him doing this, got their driver's license number. It was filled with money orders and checks. The police chased this guy and found him, and he was over on Greenfield in the Kellops area. When ensued the chase, and it ended up in the Walmart parking lot. He threw the rent drop box in the garbage can and then ran into Walmart. They arrested him. The police confiscated the rent drop box, and we thought, oh, this is going to be easy. The next day we called the police and we said, we'd like our rent drop box, please. And the police said, we're holding it as evidence. You can't have it. Uh-oh, we have a problem. Because now it's the 4th, and we don't have the money. So then I call our attorney, Melissa Parham. I said, what do we do? She goes, well, your lease specifically says until you have the money, then whether it's in a rent drop box or not, you haven't deemed it collected until you actually put it in the bank. So now we have to call 20, I think at the time there was 28 checks and money orders in there. We have to call these residents and say, we don't have your rent. What do you mean you don't have my rent? I went to Walmart, I got a money order, I stuck it in the middle of the night. It's in there. We don't have it. Well, it got stolen, it got ripped off the building, and now the city of Mesa police has it. What do I got to do? Well, you got to go back and cancel your money order and get another one. And this was a mess, and we had people that they weren't able to pay us until like the 16th or 17th of the month. And so, again, what I do is, again, I go back to if you saw my keynote yesterday, CKC, get curious. How do I collect rent where I can collect it in the middle of the night, 2 in the morning, weekends, Saturdays, without physically being present anywhere, and then nobody can rip it off the building? And so, then you get knowledgeable, and we go, I got some knowledge now I got to take action. So that's when we started implementing online payments. The other one is huge inefficiency we see is mailing communications. Again, how many of you, if you have to send a 7-day notice or a 1430, do you go literally put it in an envelope, get a green slip from the post office, certify it? Okay. So we can send 100 certified letters. I can send 100 certified letters right now from my laptop and never have to go to the post office. And so there's ways to basically, this is a really inefficient system. The other one is that printing billing. Some parks don't even do billing if they don't use any technology, but a lot of parks are starting to do invoicing. But what I've seen is that they'll print them in the office on a copier, and then they're also folding them, putting it in an envelope, and they're mailing them, or they're hand delivering them to the resident. Extremely inefficient. So we have ways to deliver that invoicing electronically through a tenant portal, or also through an email if they want to do that. And then the last one is meter reading with pen and paper. I was just talking to one of our exhibitors over the Campers app, and she does a lot of RV parks, and she was telling me that a lot of the RV parks are literally, they're trying to figure out how to read all these electric meters, and they're doing it, 300 space parks, they're doing it with a pen and a paper, and then she said that the owner is saying that the numbers are getting transposed, and then when they get them back to the office, you have this data entry nightmare because you have to start putting all these things into some sort of spreadsheet or software, or however you guys get them to the residents. So again, these are outdated practices that we see, minimal communication, and it just creates confusion. So if we're looking for efficient answers, we have to figure out what are the best steps, what are the action steps that we would take, how do we CKC this? And so the number one thing is to go paperless. So again, in our company, we use Rent Manager. I mentioned that earlier, and we have all of our leasing is 100% online. So if somebody wants to sign a lease with us, they can sign it on their phone, their computer, they can sign it on their tablet, whatever their technology is. And we've had unbelievable success with this. If somebody wants to apply for residency, we send them a link through our system, they apply, they enter all of their personal or their social and all the information they need to get their application done. And like I said, it's all encrypted data, it's safe, no one can steal it in the middle of the night, and so we really like that. And it's also, again, it reduces our liability. And then also paying online. So we want to have, again, all of our residents pay us online, or they'll use a cash pay card. We can talk about that, and we'll talk about that in another talk. But that's kind of how we do it. And again, residents love it. I kind of use the analogy, I'm old enough to know when you used to pull up to a gas station, some guy would run out and start filling up your car. Well, if somebody did that today, we'd freak out. Like, what are you doing? Get away from my car, I'm putting gas in your car. No, I can put gas in my car. I can't even pay at the pump. So what the technology does, it secures private information. Again, we don't want private information getting out, again, to people that shouldn't have it. We want to make sure that we're organized, we're storing our data, and we want to make it really, really easy for people to pay us. So modern and standardized systems. So what does that look like? Well, in our company, again, mass communication, and we do that a number of ways. We can do it through text messaging, we can do it through emails. For instance, again, with our technology, we have over 1,200 residents. I can send a text to 1,200 people right now, and the water's out, or hey, I want to let you know we're repaving the park, or whatever it is. We can send those out one at a time, 10 at a time, 1,000 at a time. And it's just a really, really efficient way to make sure that we're communicating with our residents. The other thing that we do is, and this kind of goes back to what I was talking about yesterday, when you start to get curious about something, and you get knowledge, and you take that next step, you take that action, you commit, what ends up happening is that you should document that process. So you want to have a process. This is how we're going to collect rent, or this is how we're going to lease homes, or this is how we're going to read meters. Whatever that is, you want to document it. And the reason you want to document it is because after you document it, then you want to break it. You want to continually look for ways to increase the efficiency of that. So we call this in our company our Book of Mar. So the reason that's important is that if somebody calls in sick, or if somebody is new, say you hire a new team member, you want to make sure you can open up your book of whatever your company is, and you want to say, hey, this is how we do it. This is the process. This is how we make the hamburger, right? And you also give yourself permission to change the way you make the hamburger or do the process. And so it's continually updated. And we keep this in the cloud. We don't keep this, again, in a filing cabinet in the office. So everyone that needs to have access to it will get access to it. And that way they can, again, a new team member, or if somebody calls in sick and somebody has to fill in for them, they can go ahead and know exactly what to do. And then the third thing over here where you see this app, this is really cool. So I was showing this to somebody earlier before the talk, is that through our software, and I have it right here on my phone, I can go capture, that's what capture means. I can take a picture of anything. And then when I capture it, it gives me some options. I can attach it to a service order. So I can create a service order because we send service orders to all of our vendors, and we'll send them pictures. I can attach a copy of a water reading to a utility reading, so we can read a meter right from our software. Contacts. If I want to call any one of our residents, I literally can call them right now. I don't have to be in a physical place to go look up their number and say, I wonder what that person's number is. I can text them or call them right from my back pocket here. Inspections. We've built out inspections for our clubhouses, for our common areas, for park-owned homes. And so the cool thing about an inspection is you can build it out and say, every month I want to inspect this part of the property. And you take a ton of pictures, and it builds up a nice little PDF, and that can be emailed or it can be stored electronically, however you want to do it. And then the last thing was, Stephanie talked about this yesterday, if you went to her talk about violations. We want to be able to do a violation of 1430 literally in front of the resident's house. We don't want to have to take a picture and then go back to the office and get distracted and then go, oh, I forgot what I forgot what if somebody wants to pay rent, or somebody wants to come in and talk, or somebody wants to show a home, and going back to that, juggling a lot of things to do. So we literally can go do the violation right in front of the resident's house, and we can send it to them, we can create the PDF, and then we can electronically send that PDF through a certified letter, all without leaving the front of the resident's house. So we call this Office on the Go, and mass communication and documented processes. And like I said, it's all literally, this is it. That's all I need. All right, I want to talk a little bit about teams. This is really, again, making humans extraordinary, right? So I got to go back to my roots in the medical days. If you go to medical school, every physician goes to medical school, and then they say you got to pick something. And some of them say, look, I want to be an orthopedic surgeon. Some people say I want to be an internist. I want to be a dermatologist. I want to be an oncologist. Whatever they want to be, and they have to go through 4 years of residency training to be specialized in that. Then after they do that, particularly in the surgical realm, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, then you've got your MD, you're an orthopedic surgeon, and now you got to pick another specialty called a subspecialty, and they'd say, well, you got to do a fellowship. So now you say, well, I really like knees and hips, so I'm going to be a knee and hip surgeon. And if you go into an orthopedic office, and that's what I'm very familiar with, you'll see foot and ankle, spine, knee and hip, shoulder. And so these guys, again, they love doing a shoulder, but their partner says, I love doing feet. Another guy says, I love doing fractures. And so you don't want the fracture guy fixing your foot because he doesn't do enough of them. So we started looking at that and saying, how do we do this in our company? So specialization you end up, again, finding somebody who loves doing something. You end up spending less time doing it because you're really good at it and you love doing it. And then you also become a master at your craft doing that. And so when I say less people produce more, it's really not the number of people are less. You're putting the person that is doing the job, you're making them they're telling you, I'm going to be way more efficient if I'm in this one lane. And then again, time equals money. So we're trying to enhance our bottom line. If you're an owner in the room, we want to make sure that we're doing productive things to increase our net operating income. So again, let's address some of these big inefficiencies in our business. Paper, systems, personnel, practices. Let's rethink those inefficiencies. And at the end of the day, this is a kind of an interesting quote by Mark Cuban. And whether you like him or not, it's kind of interesting. He says, whenever I see people doing something the same way it's always been done, the way it's supposed to be done, following the same old trends, I tend to walk away and look somewhere else. And it goes back to what I said yesterday, if you were here, CKC, right? We're constantly changing. When I bought my first mobile home park in 2010, the very first thing I did was I ran over to the MHCA office. I met Susan, Nancy at the time, and I said, okay, I'm here, what do I do? And they gave me a bunch of books. They said, these are the best practices. These are how you manage a mobile home park. And the next thing I did is I came to a meeting, and I started meeting other park owners. And I started asking other park owners, how do you do your business? How do you do your business? How do you do your business? And for the most part, this was back in 2010, everybody did it pretty much the same way. So so for me, that was that's a best practice. Those are experts doing what they do. But from 2010 to 2021, technology has literally exploded. And so what we've looked at doing is how do we continually push the bar forward using technology to really increase the efficiency of our operation. So that's all I've got. Any questions in the room? No questions?
I've just got one real quick. What you talked about sending certified notices out through electronically. Is that legal? Does that count as a legal certified?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there's a company that we use that you can create your notice however you create it on your computer, PDF or whatever. And when you create that notice, you just upload it into right off of your computer, so you're never printing a piece of paper. And you upload it into a company that will actually send that out for you for the same price that you would pay at the post office, but you're never leaving your office. They'll certify it for you. They'll date and time stamp every single action. They'll get a copy of the signature for you. They'll email it back to you. And when you send it to the attorney, and again, we use on a law, they love it. They're like, everything's here. We know exactly when it's sent, exactly when it was received, exactly who signed for it. I'm sorry? The company we use is called Letterstream, and it's in Scottsdale, Arizona. And again, if you go to letterstream.com, you can look them up, and you can literally go on there and you can send 1, 5, 1,000 certified letters and never leave the office. Yeah. I think it's like $7.95 a letter or something. Yeah. So I think if you want, which we have to in our business, we want return receipt, so you pay a little extra for that, but it's way less money than going to the post office in terms of time. Any other questions? Yes.
In my park, 95% of my residents are above 65 years of age. And
Congratulations.
they'll refuse technology. They just will not use it. Any suggestions?
So I bought a 240 space plus 55 park where I had a bunch of, I would say 60, 70, and 80-year-olds living there. This was when we were really starting to ramp up our technology. And at the time we had a few family parks, and we were like, okay, we're going to start doing ACH payments. Back then we were using ACH. So how can I get the resident to allow me to go into their bank account every month and pull the rent without them having to do anything? And we were told, plus 55 Park will never do it. The family parks will do it all day long, but they'll never do it. And so, me being, again, like to really break things in our business, I said, okay, we're going to start with plus 55 Park. If it works there, it'll work everywhere. But if it doesn't work in the plus 55 Park, we'll have to come up with a plan B, CKC, right? So we went in, and the very first thing we did, we said, this is how much you pay in rent, but if you let us go into your bank account and take the money on the first or the third, we gave 2 options, we'll give you $15 off on your rent. 90% of the park signed up in the first 2 months, and it was done. Now, since then, we've changed because ACH is also inefficient, because what ends up happening is if you draft, what we would find is that Martha would sell her house to Bob, let's say, and Martha didn't contact our office, so we went into her bank account to grab their rent. And people don't like it when you go in their bank account and grab their money, so we want them to control their financial future so they can go in and pay us when they want, so now they all pay us online. And we have, probably in our plus 55 portfolio, we have probably, I want to say 350, we have 2 parks, 112 spaces, and like I said, 250 spaces, and they are all online, 100%. I'm 57, come on, I'm getting old.
A lot of them don't even use email or anything. They don't do it.
So we've had some challenges. We've had some challenges with the email piece. But again, email's free. We can sign up for email. So we have an unbelievable staff that will go and say, hey, let's help you set up an email address. And what we've also found is that if people don't, if they're really resistant to it, what we typically find is that their caregiver or their kids will come, oh yeah, look, Mom, you got to get on this. We'll set you up. Or Dad, you got to get on this. We'll set you up. And so again, that's how we've done it. But we have, as of now, we don't accept paper checks or paper money orders, and we have 100% adoption over our entire portfolio. So, any other questions? All right. Well, let's see, what time is it? We got, it's 9:02, so we finished a little bit early. And I think, Brittany, when's the next talk?
9:15.
Oh, 9:15. Okay, perfect. All right, well, thank you for attending, and you guys have a great meeting, and like I said, we'll see you soon.